Here's the story. As I say, I know I've told the story before, but I'm telling it again. Simchat Torah. It was Simchat Torah. Jews are always happy, dancing with the Torah, and it's happiness for the whole entire year. Tremendous happiness. And we're dancing only because we're Jews, and God gave us the Torah. God gave us responsibility. This was in the days of the Rebbe Rishab, which the Rebbe Rishab was like in the early 1900s. He passed away in 1920 in the city of Lubavitch. Lubavitch, I guess nowadays is in White Russia, whatever. But so the happiness was very great. And there was an old couple that used to walk every year. They were not Chabad Hasidim, but they were Jews. And they enjoyed seeing the Hasidim dance. And they would walk from their house. It was like a 2-hour walk. One second. There is let's, yeah. Okay, yeah, please, Abba, mute the thing. Okay, so they would walk. It was like an hour walk, an hour and a half. They would walk, old people. They would walk. Well, one year, and they would the man would dance with the Rebbe and the women. Of course, there's a women's section. The women and the men weren't together, so there was a women's section, and the women would watch. So one year, the old man, before the Simchat Torah, the old man had a heart attack. He had a heart attack, and it wasn't, life threatening immediately, but it was definitely a heart attack, and it knocked him out for a week or two. And the doctor told him that he couldn't exert himself anymore. Couldn't exert. He could live a long life, but he shouldn't exert himself, running or things like that. And he asked us if is it permissible? Can I go to Lubavitch in a couple months? It's going to be the dancing with the Simchat Torah. Can I go? So how far it is away? It says an hour and a half walk. I said, listen. The doctor said, listen, you can go, but you have to walk very slowly. So instead of walking at one time an hour and a half, is walk each time like a half an hour or 20 minutes and find a place to sit down. Right? Find a place to sit down and to rest like, 10 minutes and then continue. And that's what they did. He and his wife, they started out a little bit earlier that year. And instead of taking them an hour and a half to get there, it took them almost 2 hours, 3 hours. And they got to the Rebbe and they were in the middle of dancing. Everybody was happy and they were all dancing. They're drinking vodka and dancing. And the women were in the women's section and the men were in the men's section. And this old fellow, he stood in the corner, to avoid being pushed and not to be drawn into the dancing. And he was clapping, he was very happy. Their intention was that they were going to stay there for maybe 15 minutes, a half an hour, and then walk back home. And they get there and everybody's dancing. Dancing. And suddenly the Rebbe Rashab points in the corner to this man and he motions for him to come and dance. So the man says, I can't, Rebbe, I can't. My points to his heart. I can't do that. So the Rebbe points to him again, and the Hasidim make like an opening. They sort of stop dancing. They're still singing. They start dancing, and they pull him in. So he said, I can't, Rebbe, I have a heart. And his wife is yelling out from the women's section, my husband has a heart problem, My man has a heart. Didn't help. The Rebbe took him, and they start singing, they're dancing. He puts his hand on this man. He wants to dance in the middle. In the middle, they're dancing around. And everybody's dancing, and they're dancing faster. All of a sudden, this fellow lets out a yell, and he holds onto his heart, and he falls down on the ground. And the Rebbe just makes a sign for the Hasidim to take him outside. And to take him outside and to make that they push a couple of benches together or whatever, his tables together. They put him over there. They put a blanket over him to keep him warm. It's cold. It's cold over there. And they keep him warm. And All the women are outside and they're all saying Tehillim, saying psalms, and the woman is crying, or she's crying. A doctor comes out, he checks him, and he says, the situation is stable. I don't know what to tell you, he says to the lady, and everybody's praying. But eventually, one by one, they want to go back inside. They see that nothing is really improving or getting worse. The situation is just staying the way it was. So one by one, these women, they go back into the dancing. And the men also, a few men came out to see what was going on. And the doctor said, there's nothing we can do. We just have to pray. Maybe there'll be a miracle. So little by little, they went back. And until this lady, she was sitting alone with her husband. And when the Rebbe did this, I left something out. When the man fell down, so his wife yelled out from the women's section, you harget my man, you killed my husband, you killed my husband. They took him outside. Anyway, there he was, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, alone, and the lady was saying to him. All of a sudden, he opened up his eyes and he sat up, and he said, "What happened? Where am I?" And his wife is amazing. It's a miracle. How do you feel? He says, "I feel great. I feel really good." And he said, "Let's go back inside." So they went back inside, and he resumed dancing. The Rebbe just resumed dancing with him. It ended up that the Rebbe healed him. The Simchat Torah, the joy of Simchat Torah, the Rebbe knew how to do it. I mean, don't try this at home. But the Rebbe knew how to make the joy of Simchat Torah affect this man's health. So he became healthy. Now you can ask a question, come on, how can he do a thing like that? You know, I mean, a medical problem is a medical problem. So it says that when God gave the Torah, that even the blind were able to see, and the deaf could hear, and the crippled were able to walk, and that all diseases were cured. In fact, that's what it says, that Moses had a speech impediment. It says he was covered lashon, and Moses had a speech impediment. At Mount Sinai, he was cured. That's why we see afterwards that Moses didn't have any speech impediment. You know, when Moses was speaking to the Jewish people, he didn't say, you know, right? It's just this one letter, right? Immediately, whatever Moses said, it just came out automatically. Why? Because everything was cured. And that's also going to be the idea of Mashiach. Mashiach is going to come, and all of the diseases will be cured automatically. Why? Why? Because naturally, the truth is that everyone's supposed to be healthy. That's the fact. Disease is an additional thing to a person. In fact, if Adam had not eaten from the tree, nobody would even die. People would live forever and they would be happy. They wouldn't get bored. Boredom is one thing that Adam brought into the world from eating the tree. And so when the Rebbe was dancing with the Torah, it was a little bit like when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, that everybody got cured. And the Rebbe was able to cure this man and his heart problems. So it should be to us, if we're happy, I think it's a known fact that your mood is one of the main factors in health. If you have a good mood, no matter what, as it's much easier to remain healthy. And if you don't have a good mood, then you can be as strong as an ox, and you can be this, all your circulations work, and your muscles and your limbs and your veins and your arteries. And if you're a miserable person, then first of all, life is not really worth living that much if you're not happy or appreciative. But even more, it affects a person's body. It affects a person's soul. It affects a person's life. And that's Simchat Torah, to be happy. And the happiness of the Torah is true happiness. May it be to all of us the whole year round. God bless you all. And see you, God willing, tomorrow, 8:15.